Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bourbon Bites Whiskey Reviews with an 80s twist. I'm your host, Clifton. Welcome to another Thursday night live stream where I'll be reviewing 4+ new bourbons for you guys. So I've been gathering new bottles for a while. Some of these I bought, some of them were sent to me by brands, and I finally had enough to actually dedicate a stream to new to me bourbons. Now, most, if not all of these came out this year. Some came out earlier this year. Some came out a little more recently. But we're still going to taste our way through them. I'm going to give my honest first, not necessarily first impressions. Some of these I've been drinking on for a while, I'll be honest. But my honest first review of them. But first, I want to say hello to a few folks here in the chat. Of course, Tony Bag of Donuts joining us. Tony is an incredible patron of the channel and a very active member of our Discord. So welcome, Tony. Good to see you. Brandon is here, another incredible mod, along with Emily and Donnie. All the mods showing up at the same time. Cool. Yes, and make sure to hit the thumbs up button if you are enjoying the show, and subscribe if you want to see more, live every Thursday evening. So, welcome. Happy Thursday. How is your... I was going to say this isn't the first stream after the 4th of July, so maybe you've recovered, you've kind of got back on track. Last week we did a non-alcoholic hop water review, so if you missed that, check it out. Definitely was in recovery mode last week. But this week we are back in it to the bourbon. I'm very, very excited to the bottles we're going to be drinking tonight, including the first Bookers I've bought in at least 2 or 3 years. I kind of stopped buying them when the price went up to $100. I got convinced to buy this batch by a liquor store employee, and he said, "You won't regret it." So we'll find out tonight if I regret it. That's the 2024-01 batch. So we'll find out a little bit later tonight. Some more folks showing up. What's up, Adam? Zover, good to see you. Donner Pass Whiskey, all the great people. Emily is here eating dinner. No worries, Emily. Hopefully you have a great dinner. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, the order that I put in the thumbnail, I'm going to switch up just a little bit. And it mainly is because some of the ones we're drinking later on are higher proof. So I'm going to start a little bit lower proof. So I'm actually going to start with the last one in the thumbnail. And this may look familiar to a lot of you, because it's a new release, but it's not a new release. Let me explain. Well, let me explain the best of my ability. So this box may look familiar to you. This is Rebel 10-year-old bourbon. This is a single barrel. This used to be called Rebel Yell if you've been following the brand for a while. This used to be a semi-regular release. It was kind of hard to find, but it was a pretty decent price when it was on the shelf, when you could find it. But they actually recently re-released this as of June 2024 as a limited edition yearly release. So this is going to come out once a year, at least. Now, it is a single barrel, so it is an annual release, but it's a single barrel, so I'm not quite sure how that works out. I don't know if there are different batches. They said this first one is a batch of, how many barrels do they say here? We'll get to that in a second. I'll read back further down, but yeah, it's an annual release now. So the price is jumping up. It's jumping up to $100. Now, it is a 10-year-old bourbon, which I think, a lot of people follow the rule of $10 per year is a fair price. So $100, it is a bit higher than what was before. This one is 100 proof. Here's a look at the bottle here. It's a very similar bottle to what it's like before. Of course, now it says Rebel. Does have the 10-year age statement on it. Let's see if that'll focus. Come on. Maybe not. It's a little shiny. It might be difficult to focus. Come on. There we go. Single barrel. So this barrel was filled on July 16th, 2012. So if my math is mathing correctly, this is almost a 12-year-old single barrel. So that's kind of what they were known for in the past. Some of the single barrel releases were very, very old. So they're the 10-year age statement, but they can be older. They just don't want to change the label every time. So let's see what they say here on the website. It just tells you about the history of the Rebel brand. I was curious if they would say anything about the fact of it being a single barrel. Yeah, it says it won platinum at the Ascot Awards in the single barrel American whiskey category, up to 10 years old. This is just things about being sponsoring NASCAR, which is cool. It says the annual Rebel 10-year single barrel shows how Rebel is bridging the gap between its heritage and modern tastes. I think consumers will appreciate the handcrafted single barrel process when they experience the robust, rebellious flavor and mature finish of this extra smooth sipping whiskey. Now, of course, this is from Luxco, which we know they operate as MGP's brands division. So this is distilled in Kentucky, as you can see here. But with it being so old, it doesn't necessarily say where it is distilled. It does say distilled and aged in Kentucky, bottled for Lux Row Distillers in Bardstown. I know previously they worked with Heaven Hill to get some distillate, but I don't know. Maybe this could be some of their own. But being barreled in 2012, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But the mash bill on this, do we have a mash bill? We don't have a mash bill in the press release. But that's about all the info I have on it. So let's stop talking. Let's start drinking. So let's go ahead and try this very first bourbon of the night. Let me know what you guys are drinking on. If you are drinking, would love to know. If you saw the thumbnail, maybe you're drinking some of the products we're going to get to a little bit later. But we're going to start with this one because we're going to go down and proof with the next one, but it'll make sense, trust me. All right. So, like I said, these are all single barrel, but they are 100 proofs. They do proof it down to 100 proof. It's not barrel strength, but they are different single barrels. So it's interesting. I'm very curious to hear, with it being an annual release, are they just saving all their single barrels for a one-time drop and they're just dropping them all? I don't know. I would love to chat with them about that and find out what goes into it being an annual release, but also a single barrel, because obviously it's not just like, they're not just selling one barrel's worth. So if you guys have this, let me know if you have a different barrel. Like I said, this one was filled 2/16/2012, and it was barrel number 6183611. So if you're watching the replay, let me know what barrel you have, and curious to hear what you think of it. But we do know this is at least 10 years old. Let's go and give it a nose. Brandon said that should be my new motto. Oh God, I don't even remember what I said. What did I say? I have no idea. Yeah, I mean, I love the nose. I've always loved Rebel's products. Even some of the stuff they have out that's like at the lower price point, like the Rebel 100 proof. Really enjoy that bottle. This isn't giving a distinctive characteristic that would make me guess that it's another distillery. Like I said previously, they were using some Heaven Hill distillate. This doesn't necessarily give me that nose, so it makes me wonder, maybe this is some of their own distillate. I'm very curious. But on the nose, it's not overly oaky. I would expect something that's 10 years old to have a bit more oak behind it. It's very sweet. It's a little graham cracker on the nose. Not like a... sometimes I get like a cinnamon graham cracker, but this is more of a honey graham. It's definitely like a sweeter graham cracker. And the honey's not distinct enough for me to say like it's a honey note. It's just like, if you think of a graham cracker, like what can it... Like, I only think of 3 graham crackers. The plain ones, the honey grahams, and then the cinnamon ones. This is definitely more in the honey, or like Teddy Graham territory, I guess. If you guys were a 90s kid, I guess they could still make this. I don't know. It is a good nose though. I wouldn't guess that it's 10 years old based on the nose. But the proof, I mean, I love 100 proof. It doesn't nose like hot or anything. I'm really excited to give it a try. This will be my first bourbon of the day, so let's see how it is. Cheers, y'all. It's a bit more bourbon. There's a bit more bourbon on this bourbon. No, I'm going to say there's a bit more age showing on the palate. On the nose, I was thinking it kind of smelled like it wouldn't taste this old, but it does. It actually is really balanced, and it's not... The sweetness that I was getting on the nose is way more tamed and like balanced with that oak note, which is great to me. It's still sweet though. I mean, like, one of the sweeter bourbons I've had in a while. Especially at 100 proof. It leans towards still that dry kind of... I'm still getting the graham cracker. There's a little bit of spice there, but it's not cinnamon. It's definitely more of a clove, or like... Yeah, I'm getting clove a bit on it. And in terms of fruitiness, it's really subtle. To me, it's just still that sweet, just that sugar sweetness with that hint of honey. It's really nice though. I mean, this is really, really my jam. It's like my flavor profile that I love in a bourbon. I don't know what let me see. Because I'm thinking about now it being $100, which I think is still a fair price point. I think $100 for a 10-year-old bourbon, 100 proof, fair, But we'll talk about price point as we talk about the Bookers a little bit later on, because it's also $100, a little bit younger, but higher proof. So, but with this being a limited annual release, I mean, this tastes great. It tastes just as good as I remember the previous ones tasting. Now, those were like $60, but yeah, Yeah, the more I drink this, the more I enjoy it. I mean, I think, I'm a bit of like a proof person. Like I normally am like, oh, I want this higher proof, but this one actually, it drinks really nicely at the proof it is. I don't think I want this. Oh, not to say I don't want it higher proof because I always do. I don't feel like this needs to be higher proof. I think it has a lot of flavor and a lot of character. Being 100 proof, I think the age is giving it that. I think it's it doesn't have to be a proof bomb to show character, especially at 10 years old. Yeah, this is solid. I definitely give it a recommendation. If you've never tried it, definitely pick it up. If you are a fan of the other ones, this is pretty much the same flavor profile that I'm used to with these. Yes, the price has gone up a little bit, but maybe it'll be a little bit easier to find. Again, I would love more clarity on the annual release single barrel of it all. But yeah, really, really good. Get caught up in the chat. Realize I missed some chat. Y'all talking food. Donnie says he and Miss Lennox Cat are drinking Ranch 20, a ranch water brand, currently a classic margarita, which is quite tasty. Was in the mood for a summer drink, and remember we had this stashed. What's funny is I actually had last week I did the not ranch water, hop water, and I actually had one of those with dinner just a few moments ago. So yeah, definitely refreshing drink season. I don't typically not that I don't drink bourbon during the summer, but I'm outside a lot and I try to do a lot of activities like going to the pool or going to the beach. I don't bring bourbon to those activities. I heard Perry talk a little bit on his stream earlier, saying yeah, bourbon's not really something you sit by the pool on a really hot day. But I mean, you do you. But I'm more of a cocktail kind of guy. So man, that sounds really good. Donner Pass Whiskey says, not sure how much you're into Scotch these days, but K&L has a bunch of pre-arrival independent bottles up recently. Some are very good values. Check them out if you're interested. I did see that actually. My local whiskey group here in LA, we have our own Discord in addition to my Discord, and they've been posting a lot about them. I am not as educated on a lot of those that went up. For me, it's more of I'd like to try a friend's bottle before I buy it. But yeah, no, K&L always gets some awesome independent bottlings in. It's just a lot of stuff I'm not that familiar with. So yeah, I saw it go up though. Oh, thank you, Donnie, for dropping my merch link. Yes, I really do want to do more merch, and I keep promising that, and I never deliver. So I'm trying to. Basically, my role at work is changing a bit over the next couple weeks, and I don't want to say that I'll have more time to work on it, but I might have more time to work on it. We'll see. I don't want to commit and then disappoint you guys saying there's new merch coming, but I still have some great ideas. I just haven't implemented them yet. So potentially new merch coming, but there's the link to check it out. Pronounce Ranch 20. Oh, got it. That makes more sense than Ranch 20. Thank you, James. Good to see you, man. Hope you are doing well. Yeah, Rebel 10. Great bottle, great pour. Still a fair price, I think. I just, with it being single barrel, it could vary. Your mileage may vary on this one, but I enjoy this one quite a bit. All right, shall we move on? Let me go ahead and finish that. I'm thirsty, y'all. It's been a long day. I'm also heading to Vegas for just a weekend trip this weekend. So heading out tomorrow afternoon, be there till Sunday night. So should be fun. It's gonna be hot. It's gonna be 112 degrees every day of the trip, and 90 degrees is the low. But we booked somewhere with a nice pool, so hopefully we'll be chilling by the pool by the day, gambling by night, seeing a few shows, and getting some good food on the way. But yeah. Donnie says a Cliffy Bus shirt would make an awesome addition to your drinking wardrobe. There are Cliffy Bus shirts available on the website. I had a lot of fun designing that one. See, I have fun with it when I do it, but yeah, I definitely want to taste them soon. Hopefully we'll do it. We haven't done one since May, so it's been a while. All right, let's move on to. I said I was going to finish this. Let me finish it. We got time. It's y'all, we're only 15 minutes in the stream. I feel like last week the stream was pretty short because let's be real, I'm reviewing non-alcoholic water, right? So there's not only so much I can say, but with whiskey I can take my time and really enjoy it. But I'm enjoying this pour so far. We got some really good ones to go through. The next one I'm really curious to hear y'all's experience with if you've had a chance to try it yet. Clifty may return as a lobster. Yeah, no, I'm bringing lots of sun. Well, I'll probably buy some sunscreen because we're flying. We try for short trips. We try to do a carry-on only bag, and you can't bring full size spray sunscreen. So we'll have to stop by a CVS or something. But yeah, I've been pretty good. When we went to Mexico, it was a month or so ago. I thought I would come back burnt, but I actually did good with putting on sunscreen. So I'm learning my lesson as a 31-year-old man to wear sunscreen. Again, I feel I'm same time as Perry literally just talked about this. He just went to Florida and he said he didn't burn either. So we're getting there. We're getting there. We're of the age where we're like, oh crap, we got to start taking care of our skin because like I've used the old age filters from TikTok on my face and it ain't pretty. So, Emily says more Biscoff than graham crackers. That's interesting. Let me think about that. Maybe, maybe on the palate because it's got that sweetness, but it doesn't have. When I think of like Biscoff cookies, I think of like a dark brown sugar kind of flavor. This doesn't have the brown sugar. It's more of like the white granulated sugar. That's why I was saying like it's almost honey grams, but it's not like honey to me is a very specific note, and it doesn't have that honey note. It just has a sweet note. So to me, it's more like white sugar than brown sugar. But great question. Avoid skin cancer. I know. Trust me. I grew up like not caring as much about like sunscreen and stuff, but no, I'm learning very quickly. Yeah, I need to, especially with this like I had to get stitches earlier this year, so like all that I gotta try to protect that as much as possible. All right, let's move on to our next whiskey. Now this one is one that has been around a while. It's gone through some changes. It's been through lots of changes actually. I had a stream probably over a year ago now where I compared the latest release of this to like an old one from like the early 2000s to like some 80s product. We're talking about Jim Beam Black. So this is the new label of Jim Beam Black. It came out earlier this year. It has an age statement again. It used to have so I think it started out with an 8-year age statement, then it went to double aged, then it went to extra aged. Then they took all that off, and then now it's back to 7-year age statement Jim Beam Black. Now this is 90 proof, so it's a little bit higher proof than the standard Jim Beam white label. For those of you that don't know, I have always loved Jim Beam. I always say Jim Beam was one of my top 2 favorite distilleries. I probably started out drinking Jim Beam white label like as a college kid, but I've really grown to appreciate all of their products. Really, even I think Jim Beam white label still has a place. Not something I choose to sip on every day, but it's something that I think one, it's a good intro. 2, it mixes really well, and 3, it's a great shooter too. So, but I think Jim Beam Black, it always has had like a little something extra. But now, let's try it with a 7-year age statement. By the way, Bourbon Noob is here. What's up, Patrick? Good to see you. Patrick is a Patreon supporter and a mod here. The new 7-year was underwhelming for you. Oh, interesting. Okay. Let me try it. Now, again, price-wise, I think I paid, like $25? It didn't go up in price, at least in my area, it didn't. So it was about $25. So a little bit more than the sorry, thought there was like a fly in my my whiskey. This is the time of year where we get a lot of I guess they're fruit flies. They're like the little tiny little flies. And they're always attracted to my whiskey when I pour it. So we have like a little zapper in the living room, but not in here. So I thought there was one in there, but there's not. So if you see me swatting at things, that's what I'm doing. It's just this time of year in Southern California, we get a lot of them. Okay, on the nose, it is very different than the white label Jim Beam. I mean, you can tell. My problem with the white label is like, in general, Jim Beam is like a nutty flavor, right? Like it's just like expected. It's like a nuttier bourbon. The white label, that nuttiness is a bit too much. It covers up the other bourbon notes that I really love. Whereas when you get the more aged Jim Beam, I think it balances itself out. I will say this doesn't smell as nutty as like white label. I mean, this smells pretty good. I honestly, again, for like $25. Let's see. I don't know if that's the retail on it. I do have a press release here. Let's see. Yeah, 20. I was exactly right. Yeah, $25 is the retail price on it. And they just relaunched this on June 12th of 2024. So very, very new. So according to their website, it says it's a relaunch. They're considering it a relaunch. Crafted through generations under the guidance of 7th and 8th generation master distillers Fred and Freddie Noe, Jim Beam Black continues the 229-year-old family tradition of distilling exceptional bourbon that is exceptional and remarkable. Jim Beam Black is the culmination of our family's dedication to crafting the finest bourbon. With each sip, you're experiencing 7 years of careful maturation and a tradition that has passed down for over 2 centuries. We've poured our heart and soul into creating this bourbon, and we believe it represents the very best of what Jim Beam has to offer. And that's from Fred and Freddie Noe. Yeah, it smells great. I'm going to have to give it a try. Cheers, y'all. I think it's pretty dang good. I saw Patrick said like he wasn't a fan of it, but I think it's really hard to fault a $25 bourbon with an age statement of 7 years. 90 proofs, they're not like, they're not just putting out an 80 proof product like everyone's has. I mean, like, what other distillery can put out a 7-year-old product at $25 at 90 proof? I think that tastes great. Actually, I really do see that as a competitor for, there's some of the other spirits in that category, like that price range. I mean, that's like, Wild Turkey 101, Evan Williams Black Label, or Evan Williams Bottle and Bond. That's a little bit cheaper. That's a little bit lower end, but I think this beats Evan Williams. It would be fun to put this up head to head against Wild Turkey 101. That one's got extra proof. Age is probably about the same. I think Wild Turkey 101 is about 6 to 8 years old, so about the same. But I like that. I think I'm a fan. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, with that being 90 proof, actually would be a great regular bourbon to put into an old fashioned. I typically go for 100 proof ish for my old fashions, but 90 is not bad. I haven't done a 90 proof old fashioned in a while, but I could get down with that. Man, that's great. I think that's great for the price. I highly recommend giving this a try. I do have thoughts on the label design. They tried to go a little more premium with it. I honestly don't love it. I think it looks a little plain. So on camera with my light, the black shines like the glossy black, and it looks a little nicer. In person, you barely see that. Like it's if you have a direct light source shining on it, yes. But if you don't, it's very, very hard to see, and you just see the Jim Beam age 7-year. I don't know how I feel. I don't love the graphic design on it. I like the gold. I like the gold and the black color scheme, but yeah, I would have done something to make the black stand out a little bit. I actually didn't know this was labeled as Jim Beam Black. When I saw this on the shelf, the lighting conditions did not reveal that black to me. I was like, oh, Jim Beam 7-year. I didn't even know to call it as Jim Beam Black. So when I started doing some research, I'm like, oh wait, there is black written on here. So that's from a branding. Listen, I work in marketing as my day job, not like product marketing, but branding is everything. So yeah. So I don't love the look on it, but I think it tastes great. Like, this is highly recommended. I mean, is it a contender for my best whiskey of the year? Maybe. I mean, for the price, ooh, we'll see. We still got like 5.5 months to go. I think it's pretty good. I like it. Let's see. What did I miss? Yeah, Donnie was asking if his expectations were high. Was it better than the non-age statement? He said, I had it on tour at the distillery and preferred the flavor of white label. Oh, interesting. I mean, everyone has their different tastes. For me, I think this tastes more like older Jim Beam, like Knob Creek. Now, it doesn't taste... I wouldn't put it on par with Knob Creek 9-year, but I think it's like a good middle ground. I really like it. Challenge coins are good to keep them out, especially Bourbon Bites challenge coins. Oh my gosh, yes. By the way, I still have some of these available. If anyone's interested in a challenge coin, I'll basically send it to you at cost. Like, it costs a little bit to ship it to you. Now, shipping costs have gone up, but I love these guys. I actually just use these as an example at work. We were thinking of doing some kind of like token for an upcoming project, and I was like, oh, I have a good example of what that could look like. So, Bourbon Bites challenge coins fit perfectly on top of a Glencairn. So if you are curious, let me know. Like I said, at this point, like I'm not going to make any money off of them. I'm just doing them for anyone that's interested in having one. So if you're interested, just shoot me a message on Instagram. I need to calculate the cost of shipping because it's changed a bit. But yeah, definitely will love to get one of those to you guys. Now, another way to get those is joining Patreon, patreon.com/bourbonbites. Certain tiers get those for free. So if you're looking for, you want to support the channel in any way, by the way, as little as $2 a month, you can support the channel on Patreon. But some of the higher tiers have access to some fun things like challenge coins. So there's currently a 30-day free trial for our $10 tier, which is the Bourbon Megabytes, which gets you access to our after party right after this stream. We do it every Thursday night. You also get access to our monthly movie night, which this month we are doing the Muppets movie because for some reason you guys wanted to watch the Muppets movie. I've never seen it, but listen. I take your requests, right? So you guys want me to watch the Muppets movie? We'll be doing that not tomorrow, but the following Friday. We're gonna be watching that for everyone $5 and up on Patreon. But yeah, if you're curious, check it out, patreon.com/bourbonbites. We just had a new member join our Bourbon Terabyte tier, which is the $50 tier, and you get a monthly tasting set not catered, I don't cook, curated by me, and also taking your opinions into account. Fred Gilbert, one of our longtime supporters of the channel, just jumped to that tier, so I'm actually doing the tasting with Todd and Fred this upcoming, not this Sunday, but next Sunday. So if you want to check it out on patreon.com/bourbonbites. Tony said, I was thinking about pouring some Cliffy samples tonight, but you all remembered what happened last time I did that. Stay tuned for the after party. Pouring some Cliffy samples, like some of my samples that I've sent you, or samples to send me? I'm very confused. Hello, Heather Starkey, the better half of the Starkeys. Just kidding, Heather. I mean, just kidding, Patrick. I love you both equally. You're amazing. Let's see. Patrick said, I don't feel like I'm not saying it's bad. Definitely not worth the frenzy at General. Oh, I didn't know it had frenzy. I completely missed any frenzy surrounding Jim Beam Black Label. I honestly just forgot it was out there, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I've never seen that label before. I took it home. James Taylor says Eagle Rare is $32.95 in North Carolina, and Russell's 10-year is $34. Wow, okay. I mean, great point about the Russells. Didn't even think about that. Eagle Rare is but it's really hard to find out there, right? Like when I was in the Carolinas, I bought it once, and I had to buy it in South Carolina, and I overpaid for it. But I know North Carolina is a ABC, controlled state. But I feel like Eagle Rare, at least when I was there, it didn't show it very often. But that's a good point. Comparing these low cost, I don't want to say low cost, I don't want to say budget bourbons, but I want to say for me, I consider anything under 40 and under a budget bourbon. Now I know everyone's budget's different. Some people might consider that a $20 bourbon. Mid-range to me is 40 to 60. Upper mid-range is 60 to 80. Anything above 80, I think it was a higher end bourbon. That's just my personal, again, it's everyone's personal opinion. That's my range. Oh, thank you, Donnie. Thank you, Tony. Someone say Patreon. Oh, Donnie's got his spiel ready. Thank you, Donnie. I appreciate that. Big Vic. Good to see you, Big Vic. Man, hope you're doing well. I feel like we haven't chatted in a while. I know I've seen you around, but I've been trying to get better about being on other people's streams, especially with us. I mean, I mentioned this always ago, with us losing Scott, our good friend, fifth quarter tailgate. It makes me want to be more involved in other channels, during the hangout sessions and stuff. So I'm trying to get better about that. I'd love to see you and hang out with you sometime soon. Also, you're not that far from me, so we could also do an in-person meetup. We'll see. But good to see you, Vic. Yeah. Euros allocated, you have to draw for it. Oh, wow. Gotcha. Wow. Yeah. It used to be more available out here. You could find it at grocery stores. Now it's getting a little more hard to find. Buffalo Trace is still pretty available. Oh, samples I sent you from giveaways. Man, I used to do Listen, I don't know. I've always been good about when I do a giveaway, I send out those samples right away. Not that I don't want to share. I'm happy to share with you guys. It's just I feel kind of weird asking for super chats for giveaways. I don't know. I've always kind of felt weird about it. Now, if you do want to support the channel, you're welcome to super chat at any time. It really does help the channel. It helps me buy fun things like these bottles we're doing today. If you want to do that, you can. I would much rather people join the Discord and hang out with us there, or join Patreon and join us on the Hangouts. So I'm not trying to discourage super chats. I love them. I appreciate them. But it's also I'd rather you guys get something out of it other than a chance to win. That's just my personal opinion. I know a lot of people do giveaways, and I will do them eventually soon. It's just been a while since I've done it, and it's not that I don't want to. It's just I don't know. I feel if I'm not going to be asking super chat me and do this and donate this and do that. That's I don't like doing all that. It's if I had a recommendation, I would say, hey, join Patreon if you can. But super chat if you're feeling extra generous, or again, it's up to you guys. I owe it all to you guys. You're the reason that I do this, so you do you. It's funny how when we start this journey, it starts at one price range. Oh, it goes up and up and up. Great point. I saw his post on Facebook earlier today. Yeah, Todd has reached 25 years with the FAA, which I think is Federal Aviation Association. I don't know exactly what that role is, what that organization is, but yeah, 25 years. That's awesome. I know he's close to retirement, so man, Todd, cheers to you, my friend, if you're watching this replay. Uh, yeah, he's pretty close. All right. Speaking of pretty close, we are halfway through the end of the stream, and I still have two more bourbons to drink at least. So let me drink some water, as you guys always recommend. And move on to another product, very, very in line with the Jim Beam we just had. This is the one I teased earlier. This is my very first Booker's I've bought since probably 2021, maybe 22. Maybe I bought one in 22. I don't know. This is the 2024-01. I'll take out this in a second. I think it's called the Springfield Batch. Is there a new one? Is there a 2024-02 yet? If so, it hasn't hit my stores here in Southern California. But yes, I did pay $100 for this. And that's the price point that I stopped buying Booker's at. I'm like, this is too expensive. But in the scheme of things, it does come with a really sexy box. By the way, I turned one of these into like a cocktail smoker. I have it back there. It's kind of it's functional. So it does come with a cool box. Not all the time, but most of the time. And it is a really nice bottle. So like I said, this is Springfield Batch 2024-01, 62 point. Will you focus? Will you focus? Come on, you're really close to focusing. There we go. 62.25% ABV, 124.5 proof, 7 years, 7 months, and 8 days old. So I'll tell you a little bit about this batch. Like I said, this is the first batch of 2024. But first, I want to give a shout out to the amazing folks that decided to give a little more on Super Chats. First of all, James Taylor, on that note, to affordable, drinkable bourbons and Gliffy. Well, James, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hey, I don't discriminate on bourbons. I love good budget pours. I love high-end bourbon. Talk about high-end bourbon. We'll have a conversation about Russell's 15 at the end of the stream. If Cliffy wants to come out, I'll give my opinion on Russell's 15. But and by opinion I mean like I don't have it, but I have an opinion. So so cheers to you, James. Thank you so much for the super chat. Tony, bag of donuts as well, just for the heck of it. Well, Tony, cheers to you, my friend. I hope to see you on the hangout. Maybe you have some Cliffy samples left over. I'd love to know. I probably don't have the bottles they came from, but cheers to you, Tony. Thank you, my friend. Stacy, 4-Leaf Whiskey, cheers to you as well. I saw you earlier. You popped into Perry's chat for just a moment. I was driving, so I couldn't chat, but good to see you, Stacy. Hope you are doing well. I see you guys are doing a lot of fun events there locally. I see your posts on Facebook. I'm like, oh man, I wish I was closer. I'd love to come support you guys. But good to see you, Stacy. All right, so Booker's 2024-01. Let me go to get it poured while I tell you a little bit about this release. By the way, I didn't see an answer. Is there a 2024-02 yet? I haven't seen it locally, but I'm very curious if there is one. So, this one is, like I said, Springfield Batch. Let's see what they have to say about this batch here. The first release of Booker's for 2024, it's named after the small town in central Kentucky where my dad, which I assume is Fred Noe's dad, Booker Noe, was born and raised. Many people think Dad was from Bardstown, the bourbon capital of the world, but it wasn't until later in his adolescence that he moved into the Beam family home there. As a boy, he grew up in Springfield, Kentucky, a small rural town about 18 miles down the road. While the town has grown over the years alongside bourbon and a few other industries in the area, it was a farming community with many residents working in tobacco when Dad was young. Many years before he became the master distiller he was known for, he got his sense of hard work from his time as a farmhand in Springfield. One thing that most folks don't know about the Springfield area is that it was where Abraham Lincoln's legacy began. Beyond that, I'd say Dad is probably one of the more recognizable figures to come from Springfield. Even when he moved away, he spent a lot of time going back for family dinner, holidays, and even the extended Noe family reunion every summer. You never forget your hometown, and this batch is in honor of Dad's. I hope you enjoy it as much as he would have. That was written by Fred Noe. Very, very cool story. Now, about the bourbon itself, like I said, it is a mash of up to 5 production dates stored in 4 different warehouses. Like I said, age is 7 years, 7 months, and 8 days, 124.5 proof. The breakdown, I'll just show on the screen. I don't feel like reading all that. So if you want to pause, screen cap, whatever you want to do, it shows you where a lot of this came from. and some tasting notes. You know, I don't like reading tasting notes until I have to. So, yeah, that sounds good. I love the story that comes with it because bourbon is it's all about the people you sit it with and where you have it, really. Um, I was just seeing Tony and Donnie beef right now or whatever. I don't know, but it's hard to ignore someone when they keep tagging you in a chat. Okay, okay. You know how you won't be ignored with a super chat, like 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 James and Tony did. All right, but yeah. So this is the 7 year old Bookers. Again, price point. Remember, I said I was going to come back around to that. Same price as the Rebel 10. Now the Rebel 10 does have some age on it. It's also a once a year release. The Booker's is a 7 year old release, but high proof versus the 100 of Rebel. I think they kind of equal out. You know, as much as I want to bitch and moan about the price of Booker's going up, it does make sense with the scheme of things. I just feel like my overall impression of why I haven't bought Booker's isn't just because of the price increase, because I get it. It happens. Inflation, cost of bourbon, I get it. But I feel like the last few batches I bought of Booker's didn't impress me enough to justify, one, paying what I paid for them at the time, which was like 80. Two, pay $20 more for what I was feeling like. Not that I didn't want to say they were putting as much effort into making it good, because that's kind of rude to say. I just feel like the bourbon that was coming out from the Booker's label wasn't as good as I remember it being in the past. Because I remember sometimes when I would have a Booker's, I would be like, man, this is some of the best stuff I own. Again, Jim Beam is one of my top 2 distilleries. I feel like for a while, Booker's was just coming out, and it was just like, yeah, it tastes like Booker's, and like not in a good way, because I feel like Booker's used to, even though it was always a little bit younger, like 6 to 8 years old, I always felt like it had a lot of character to it. And I feel like for a while, it started to lose some of that character. I was finding that same character in Knob Creek single barrel picks. I was even finding it in Bakers. Like some of the characters that I loved in Booker's, I was finding at lower price pointed items from the distillery. So I kind of stopped buying it, but we'll see. Um, Story time with Bourbon Bites. You know what's funny is I've actually narrated a few audiobooks, like just because, not my own. I do have a book that or a short story that I wrote on Amazon, but I have narrated a couple audiobooks. So if you want to hear the Cliffy reading that, or maybe I'll start the podcast again. People keep asking me to start my podcast again. I'd love to. Yeah, no, I'd love to. That's one of the things is let me evaluate the work situation and let's see if I have time to do the podcast, because again, I don't like committing to things and not following through. So we'll see. All right, let's go ahead and nose the 2024-01 Bookers. Oh man, that nose, the best smelling bourbon we've had all night. I mean, it smells older than it is. You know, like we had the Jim Beam 7 years just a moment ago. This is basically the same age. This has such depth to the nose. Maybe it's coming from the proof. Maybe it's coming from the blend. I don't know. But this is something I could sit here and nose for a long, long time. To me, I'm getting like peanut butter, not just peanuts, but peanut butter. Really rich, like homemade. I mean, I've never had home. I've had like freshly ground peanut butter. It's that, but it's like you mix that with some honey. Now this, you know, I said I got a little bit of honey sweetness on I think it was the Rebel that I got that on. This one actually smells like honey, like actual honey, not just sugar. Oh man, that smells great. I mean, is this gonna make me start buying Bookers again? We'll see, because this takes me back to a bourbon that I was once very, very much in love with. Let's see if it holds up. Cheers. What was the proof of that? 124.5. It's a big jump. You know, we're going from 90 proof to 124 proof. So I need to take a second sip before I give a full opinion. By the way, I see Isaac just joined our Discord community. By the way, guys, if you guys are not there, please join us. It's open to everyone. It's where we post so much throughout the week. You can turn off notifications if you want. You don't have to see them all. but it is actually my favorite community. I spend more time on my Discord channel than I do like Whiskey Tube, which a little guilty for, but also like you guys, I love chatting with you guys. When I see a funny meme, I'll share it with you guys. Or if I see breaking news about bourbon, you guys are the first to know. So if you want to get in on that like Isaac just did, please click the link. I'd love to have you there. Sorry to call you out, Isaac. I just had the notification that someone joined. I'm like, oh, I haven't promoted that in a while. So I think I have a banner that can promote that. Let's see. There we go. You can go to bourbonbites.com. There's a link to it there as well. Oh, Heather's revisiting the 2020-02 Boston batch. I think, I think I bought one batch of 21 because I was trying to think when was the last Booker's I bought. I think I bought the first 2021 batch, and I think that was the last one. So it's been 3 years since I bought Booker's. Wow. I have had Boston batch. Man. Okay, let's go in for a second sip now that I've kind of acclimated to the palate of high proof Booker's. Man. Now I'm conflicted because I was about to. I just went on that tirade about like, I feel like Booker's hasn't really held up. That's really good. That liquor store employee that told me that this was a good batch and he's like swore on it. Well, not that he swore on it, but he was like saying like, trust me, like that's a good batch. I'm like, I'll buy it. I will say first impression when I first cracked this. When did I pick it up? Tuesday. I didn't love the first pour out of it. I was like, oh, it's just the same old. But maybe I just wasn't in the right mindset to try it. Because coming back to it today, it's really, I'm opening up to it. Not to say that it's opened up like I haven't. There's debate about like the whole neck pour of it all. I do think the taste of whiskey changes. Like if you keep it for like a year or so, like it's going to change a little bit. It's going to get a little oxidized. But revisiting this today, I'm really liking it. Yeah. Based on this one, I might start buying Booker's again. If the next one is this good or better, I'll buy. Okay. This one has a reaffirmed faith in Booker's for me. I will buy the next batch I find. If that one lets me down, I'm gonna have to think twice about it. I might resist. But this is everything I remember loving about Booker's. It just tastes masterfully crafted. Like, I know that doesn't make much sense, but like compared to some of the cheaper ones, like we just had the Jim Beam 7-year, that one's great for $25. This one tastes like a very, very special release. Again, I might be biased because I love Jim Beam as a distillery, but that's a damn good bourbon. For $100, I would buy that again. I actually might buy it back up. I think next I'll probably, instead of buying backup, I'll probably buy the next batch. If it disappoints me, I'll buy a backup of this batch. That way I'll have some Booker's. But yeah, really good 2024-01 Booker's. Definitely give that a recommendation. So let's go ahead and try it. We have one more pour tonight. I realize I stuck on a tangent for a while. So thank you guys for sticking with me. All of you watching live and watching the replay. We have one more bourbon to try. Now this one is a brand that I have shown high praise for in the past. Actually, the third release from this brand, I don't know, it wasn't my number one whiskey of 2022. It was definitely in my top 3 whiskeys that year. I would have to refer back to my list, but they have a brand new release. This is batch number 5. I did review batch number 4 back last year. I liked it. It just didn't quite impress me as much as the third batch did. However, they are back with batch number 5. Of course, I am talking about Kentucky Senator Bourbon. So if you've seen this label, I featured it several times here on the channel. This is their latest release. This is a 9-year-old Kentucky Straight Bourbon whiskey coming in at 107 proof. 9 years old. This is bottle 306. This is a limited release from this brand. They only put out really this brand. So let me tell you a little about this. So they name each release after a different Kentucky senator. They give you a little bit of a backstory on them on the back of every bottle. On focus. This one's based off of John Brown. It's focusing on something behind me that it's like preventing it from focusing. There we go. So this is the story again. Pause if you want to read it. It's a long story. But this is a very small batch distilled in Asia, Kentucky. bottled by Bluegrass Distillers in Lexington, but we do not know exactly where this was distilled. So that's part of the mystery of it. We don't necessarily know where this came from, but we do know it's a Kentucky bourbon. Like I said, I loved the third batch. I'm really excited to revisit this one again. The folks over at Kentucky Spirit, by the way, they sent this bottle for review. They've been very generous. They always let me know, like, hey, we have a really exciting new release coming up. We'd love to send you a bottle. So appreciate that from those folks. But I'm really excited to give this a try. 107 proof. I love, people always ask me what my favorite proof point is, and I always say like between 105 and 110 is like my jam. So like 107 is right in the middle of that. I love that proof point. 9 years old. Now I do actually have a mash bill for that. I have a little bit more info than you would think. They sent me the full press release for it. So this one is 75% corn, 21% rye, and 4% malted barley. Might give you a hint for where it's from. Yeah, it's using the same mash bill as their previous 3 releases. Aged for an additional year to 9 years old. There are only 1,200 bottles of this released. And I was looking to see if they definitely sent over the retail price on it. So make sure I have that right. $149.99. So there's only 1,200 of these for 2024, coming in at $149.99. That's a very, very limited batch. 150. We're talking 9 years old. We're talking higher proof, and it's that limited. I think it's a fair price. A little bit on the higher end, but I think it's a fair price. So my favorite one was the John Carlisle one, which was the 7-year-old. Last year they had the John Sherman Cooper one, was the 8-year-old. And it's not that I didn't like it. It wasn't as good to me as the one before it. But now we're going to 9 years old, so I'm very, very excited for this one. All right, so release number 5, John Brown. You see, those are the flies I'm talking about. So let's go to nose this. 9 years old. Wow. I don't know if these are like, so they're coming out once a year and they're aging them up a year. And it's like almost makes me wonder. It's like, are they using the same batch of barrels? They're just giving it more time. I'm very curious to know. Oh man, that nose. Very different than the Booker's. I still have some of the Booker's. Booker's is dark, oaky, little bit The Booker's is more of a buttery. Butter is a weird note, but it's like a little more of like a very like dense, rich bourbon. This, on the other hand, kind of goes the other direction. It is a little bit citrusy. It kind of does remind me of a like a charred orange peel, which we all know and love in an old fashioned. The proof is like jumping out of the glass, right? Like I said, it's 107 proof. I can tell that proof is showing up on the nose. Yeah, to me, it's like orange, a little bit of like vanilla, almost like a vanilla like candle or something. Really interesting nose. I mean, that smell it's such a fragrant bourbon. It almost smells like a candle that's made to smell like bourbon, if that makes sense. Like in a good way. Like I'm not saying it's bad. It's like, sometimes like candles will say bourbon and like they're like, this doesn't smell like bourbon, but sometimes they do. I'm like, oh, this actually works really well. Actually, I have one. You can see it like back there. I think that one's like amber and bourbon, and it actually smells really good. Yeah, but this one has like some citrus notes. Sweet as well, but it's more of like a tangy kind of sweet. I don't know. This is just the nose. I have to give it a taste. Let's give it a try. Cheers. Oh yeah, that citrus is still really apparent. I'd love to go back and rewatch my review of the one from 2 years ago that I absolutely loved. I'd love to see if I also got that citrus note on it. That's really good, man. It doesn't. I don't want to compare it really to Booker's. I feel like that's not necessarily a fair. It's not that far off of a comparison, right? The Booker's is almost 8 years old, 124 proof. This is 9 years old, 107 proof. Kentucky Center is a little bit pricier. It is an annual release. It's a very small batch, 1,200 bottles or less, or 1,200 bottles. that to me that triggers a little bit of a memory. You know, sometimes you drink something and it reminds you of like being somewhere at a certain time or trying something, and I don't know how to describe it. Sometimes when I take a sip of whiskey, I'll be like, oh, it triggers a memory in my head of like the first time I had something that tastes like this. This does trigger that. It reminds me of a after party to a Christmas party back in South Carolina. I forgot what bourbon it was. It was just like one of those situations where like we all went out for drinks after our Christmas party, and it was on the company dime. And I think I got a, you know, it could have been a Bullet 10-year. It was a Bullet. It wasn't the standard Bullet. It was an older Bullet product, and it kind of reminded me. It gave me the same feeling I'm getting with this. Not to say that this tastes like Bullet or Four Roses or any of that. Like I have no idea. This doesn't taste like a specific distillery. I will say when I had this previously earlier this week, I thought it tasted like Beam. It kind of reminded me a lot of Beam. But now trying it side by side with the Bookers, if it is Beam, it's a very, very different flavor profile. But whatever it is, that's a really good bourbon. It leans more towards the fruity, sweeter, brighter bourbons, which I like. I don't like them as much as I love like the darker ones like the Bookers that I just had. But I can see certain people like falling in love with this bottle. I mean, I will say it's better than I remember last year's being. It's a strong contender for some of my best bourbons of 2024. I'm really excited to put this head to head, maybe in a blind flight and see how it does. It's very bright, it's citrusy, it's good proof. Love that 107 proof. 150, I think it's hard to recommend. Like, again, this is me speaking from my perspective budget wise. I told you anything over 80 to me is like a higher end bourbon. If you have, it's hard. Like if you have the money to spend, give it a shot. I think it's a really good bourbon. I would just hate to like blindly say like, oh, go buy a bottle of this now, and then you not like it. Like I said, it does lean towards those more orange, those more citrus notes. I like them. I still prefer the darker notes. Do I think this is worth the price? Yes. Do I think you should go out and like you've never had anything like this and blind buy it? Maybe not. Okay. How about this? This is a try it before you buy it. It's my opinion. I think it's good. Certain people may not like that brighter citrus note. There, I'll leave it at that. How about that? It just doesn't sit as heavily as some of these other ones we've had. And I don't want to recommend this to someone and they feel disappointed. Because it does drink a little thinner than most bourbons I would expect for $150. But flavor-wise, it is great. It's really well aged, great proof. We'll see. I'll come back to this one. I'd love to come back. This, again, is the first review of this one. I'd love to see how I feel about this compared to maybe some other bottles, maybe in a blind flight. But yeah, I think it's good. I recommend it. Not quite as like amazingly as I have some of these other ones, but I really love the folks in Kentucky Senator. I think they're putting out some really good stuff. And if citrus is your flavor profile, this may be a great bottle for you. So, well, but I'm serious. I will definitely make this a contender in my top 10 of the year. It's different. It's different enough than anything else I own. I'd love to see how I feel about it in a few months. So we'll see. But I think that does it for tonight, guys. We're actually really good on time. I was going to throw in an extra one here tonight, but we don't need it. I might save that for the after party. By the way, if you're interested in that, that's everyone $5 and up on Patreon. We do that after party on Discord. So if you're interested in joining us for that, check out patreon.com/bourbonbites. Join us at the $5 or up tier, and then head over to Discord and join us for the after party hangout. We're also doing movie night, like I said, next Friday night. I'll also be live Friday. No, not Friday. I'll also be live on Thursday. I don't know what I'm doing yet. I think I might do a part 2 to this because I think I have a few new bourbons, not just bourbons, but I feel like I do have a few new whiskeys that I have not quite reviewed. So maybe we'll do some scotch. I do have the Lagavulin, the newest Offerman. I do have new to me, a Lagavulin port cask I've never had before. What else? I think I have another scotch. I have the Bullet single malt. Oh, okay. Okay, maybe we do a single malt stream next week. Does that sound good to you guys? Some newer single malt releases that I haven't reviewed before on the channel. If you're interested, let me know. Give me a thumbs up. Otherwise, I will see you guys next Thursday night. Like I said, I'll be in Las Vegas this weekend. I'll be posting on Discord. I'll be posting on my Instagram at Bourbon Bites. But I hope to see you guys on the internet. Hopefully my Discord. Hopefully I convinced you guys to join. Cheers, y'all. Oh, yes, thank you, Emily, for the reminder. Last minute reminder. Adriana is doing her Alzheimer's fundraiser this Sunday. Unfortunately, I'm not able to participate this year because I will be traveling. Like I said, I'll be flying back from Las Vegas. But I've been a big supporter of that over the years. Have participated in the live streams, done a few giveaways. I will definitely be donating. I may not be able to make the live stream, but yeah, you guys make sure if you're free on Sunday night, check out Whiskey Mountains on YouTube. She just search Whiskey Mountains, you'll find her channel. She's amazing. Yeah, so thank you for the heads up, Emily. Appreciate that. And until next time, this has been Bourbon Bites. Cheers, and I'll see you guys on Thursday. The rest of you, I'll see you on the after party. Cheers.